Good morning. Loud out the office. Monday morning, just like usual. Really nice day. As you can see behind me, there's no wind at all. Sun just got up a little while ago. I've been on it for about an hour and a half. And I've been pulling crankbaits through the same areas that I have been for the last week. And I'm in 17 to 18 feet of water. But on the bottom of the lake, the weeds are going up anywhere from 5 to 10 feet off the bottom. So somebody asked me last week, they go, I don't understand this crankbait stuff. Well, a crankbait is just an artificial bait with hooks, obviously, and it looks like the bait in the lake. Again, I've used this many times. It's kind of scratched up from being bit up all the time, but this is a Rapala deep-tailed dancer. And you can see on the front, it's got a real wide bill. And the wider the bill, the deeper the lure will run down in the water. So when the water hits that fat part of the lure, it pushes it deeper. And the reason I use the deep-tailed dancer a lot is on the end of the tail of the bait, it's really wobbly action. It wobbles like crazy back and forth as you're trolling. So just that action alone a lot of times will trigger a bite. Now this is a deep-tailed dancer. It's a perch. Looks like a perch, and it's supposed to resemble a perch, but it's got some metallic colors on it, bright orange on the bottom. And the beauty of this is that a lot of times the fish see that and that wobbly action going by real fast, and it looks to them like a perch, and they'll attack it. I also have a lot of luck on the deep-tailed dancer, again, the wide bill. And these are size 9. This is a size 11. So this will run a little deeper depending on how much line I let out. But again, it's got that really wobbly action. This is the purple descent. They put some bright colors on there to get the fish's attention, and this works really good. In fact, this is my 4th purple descent size TDD 11 deep-tailed dancer that I've gone through this summer. I tried this new Rapala lure. It's referred to as the gold miner. Again, it's got this, you can kind of see it's got a kind of a coffin-shaped bill. And that, again, because it's wide, that'll push that bait down deep. But this one, as you can see, it's all kinds of colors on it. I mean, when I bought this at the store, I thought, hey, this is something you'd use, for saltwater fishing. But it's new. It's the Rapala Gold Miner. And I've tried this quite a bit. I haven't had any fish on this yet. Not a one. Not saying they didn't chase it or look at it. I just haven't caught a fish yet. And then if I want to still get kind of deep, but I don't want to go quite as deep as the deep-tailed dancers, I go to this Berkeley. It's called a flicker shad. And this is a size 7. Now, if you look at the bill here, it's a little more rounded at the top. It's fairly wide, but it's not anywhere near as wide as the deep-tailed dancer, which really gets you down into deep water by letting out enough line. But this flicker shad, I use the size 7s. Again, here's one that looks like a perch, a little more metallic and brighter in color to get their attention. And also, for whatever reason, that purple color works great out here. And I'm using a flicker shad. This is their version of the purple descent color, but it's really pretty. You've got all this bright colors on it. You've got the eyes that are red and light up, and I don't mean to say light up like light up, but they really get the fish's attention, especially when it's in the water and you have some sunlight like I do this morning. Once that sun gets way up there, I'm gonna have to try probably some different tactics, because right now I'm only trolling approximately 75 to maybe 85 feet behind the boat. Well, if I'm running the trolling motor, it's not so bad, but I can't really get enough speed out of the trolling motor to run these crankbaits at the depths I want. So then I have to go with the big motor, and I'll try to go in reverse sometimes to keep my speed right around that 2 miles an hour, 2.2, 2.4. And the reason I'm staying there is because that's the speed that is caught in the most fish. Doesn't mean if I sped up to 3 or even 3.5 miles an hour, I might not get the same number of fish. but to me it's just a little too fast. I like when my lure, I can feel it on my rod and it's going back and forth in the water, vibrating the way it's supposed to as it moves. So those are crankbaits, and I've got hundreds of them, all different sizes, all different colors. One thing I want to show you on a crankbait is because they make so many different styles. Here's another perch Rapala, but this is a shallow running lure. And you can see right away the difference. On the front of that lure, it bends down like almost an L. And because it's so short and doesn't have any kind of the depth, this lure will run real shallow. So if I'm fishing weed tops in, let's say, 3 to 6 feet of water, I'll let this lure back, and you can see it's been bit up pretty good from different fish. But I'll let this shallow running lure back, and I might let it back, in, let's say if I'm in 10 feet of water, I might put this thing back 80 to 100 feet behind the boat, because I know with that small bill on the front, it's not going to run deep. It's going to stay right above the weeds, or maybe just clip them. If I go too deep or a larger bill, the lure's going to run deeper. Now I'm down in the weeds, and about every 10 feet, I've got to reel it in and pull the weeds off the hooks. So that's a shallow runner compared to like the deep tail dancers with that really large bill. It'll push that bait farther down into the water column, because as the speed increases, the bait will dive farther. And the more line I let out, the bait will dive farther. We're on a shallow runner. Again, I could let out 200 feet of line, but I don't really think it's going to matter, because this lure is only going to run to a certain depth. So based on boat speed, based on the amount of line you let out, will determine how deep these lures run, and you'll kind of get dialed in where you need to be in terms of amount of line you let out, so you know exactly on all of these. And it takes trial and error, you guys. This isn't like, really, you kind of have to try it in your own boat at your own speed. People can tell you all the time how far back to run a certain lure, but it's always dependent on your own boat, your own speed. What type of line you're using. Are you using monofilament? Are you using a braided line? And those things make a difference, because braided line's heavier and it's thicker. So when it hits the water, it's going to force it up. So that braided line, I'm going to have to let out more line to allow for that weight of the line being lifted as I'm moving in the water. If I'm using a monofilament line, that's a thinner line. That's going to run easier down. And so I'll probably have to let out less line on a monofilament to get it to the same depth that I would need to let out more line with a braided. So that also is dependent on your boat speed, the type of line you have, and the type of lure you're using to determine what depth it runs and what depth you want it to run. So I've got one this morning, and it was a 35-inch northern. And this thing was big around. It was a baby, and I was only back 70 feet. So it wasn't like I've been hauling this thing in from 200 feet out where it's just tired of running and trying to snap off. But I netted him, got him in the boat, held him, unhooked him, threw it in the water. He splashed me and went back. Beautiful day at the office. Being splashed by a northern I'm not even out here to catch. But when you fish the weeds, you're going to have a lot of northerns. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to catch big largemouth bass, because they're an aggressive fish. They kind of territorial. So if you drag a bait through there, and here comes this, deep tail dancer wiggling all over, and it goes right by them in the weeds, they'll fly out and just nail it. And oftentimes, because I've caught a lot of walleyes right in these same areas as these northerns and bass, walleyes do the same thing. They get so turned on, they get really aggressive, and they'll just fly out and nail it. And you probably saw the last time I caught a fish, he took it like this. He didn't chase it from behind. He just nailed it on the side. He was going to eat that whole thing. When that happens, then you're going to get the treble hooks from the front of the lure in the fish's mouth. Where if he chases it from behind and it's wiggling, and all of a sudden he bites it, he's probably going to get the back treble hooks. So there you have it, little crankbait story. They come in all different sizes, all different lengths. Multiple companies make them. And the idea is to find what works on your lake, what color, what speed you have to run that lure. If it's sunny, which I hate, I like overcast. It seems to be better. The fish on sunny days, especially when that sun gets a little higher now, they're going to turn around and they're going to go deep. Or they're going to get into the weeds and go down into the weeds. And now you almost have to fish these pockets in between these weeds in order to get that fish to come out. And the best way to fish the pockets is either slip bobber, or you can cast a crankbait and reel it through these pockets and hope that fish comes out of the weeds and nails it. So I've got all that kind of stuff lined up this morning too. So far, beautiful morning. Not much going on here. I'm going to get back into position, and I've got to go back over here and start over. I'm fishing on this saddle, and it's kind of like a highway with weeds on both sides of the highway. And the highway is my weeds that I'm fishing, 17, 18 feet. But if I get over to the shoulder of the highway, now it'll go up to 14, 13, 12, 10. And that's a little too shallow, because when I go through those areas, I know they're holding fish, but my lure will constantly click on the weeds or catch a weed. And now all of a sudden my rod's moving real nice with my lure, and then it's just bent with the weight of the weed. Now I got to stop everything, reel it in, get the weeds off, start over again, get my line back. And so it's a lot of monkeying around, but it pays off. I've been under the weather. I got to go see the doctor this afternoon, see if I can get some antibiotics. But I can't get an appointment till around 2:30, so I thought, well, no sense sitting on shore feeling sorry for yourself. Go out and fish, do what you like. So that's all I have this morning. Beautiful Monday to start the week. And looks like we're going to have some nice weather this week. This late in fall, and we're getting 70-plus degree weather. I mean, that's pretty decent. It doesn't really help the fishing, because right now the water temperature it's 66. So, not that that's so bad, but I really want to get it down that 62, 60, 59 degree water temp, because that'll change the summer pattern for these walleyes, where they start moving, transitioning into their fall pattern. And once they get in the fall pattern, they move shallower. They're going to be chasing the bait fish that are also moving shallower. And that's a great time to be out here, is the fall of the year. The fish are not spread out so much. They're really schooled up. And you might have 8, 10 of them in a little area. So it can be a lot of fun. And that's my plan. Just keep working at it. I know I'd like to get another big fish for my buddy Darren. But today it's just going to be play it by ear. Once it gets closer to noon, 1 o'clock, then I'll head in and get ready for my dock appointment. That's all I have today. Loud at the office. Hope everyone's doing well, starting your week well. And until next time, as usual, loud out.